Okay. So I'm just gonna explain the equipment glitch real quick. Okay. So first things first, you need a cursor to be on memory. I'll explain why later, but you just need it on memory, it won't work otherwise. These settings will change in speed. Yeah, so that's the only setting that affects equipment glitch, is the setting right here, you want on memory. So the way it works. So first of all, let's look at how equipment's supposed to work. So, my warrior has a knife equipped. I have a hammer in my inventory, so when I press X, I can see the hammer. That's my list of possible equipment. Okay, I'm gonna buy a piece of armor, actually. Actually, I'm just gonna start highlighting from here. Right. So for equipment glitch, you need the cursor to be on memory and not default. It's one thing to remember. If it's not working, it's probably because of that. And so, equipment works this way normally. So I press X, and I see the list of possible items for my character. So my warrior can equip a hammer, right? Can also equip leather armor on his armor slot. He doesn't have anything available in the helmet slot, right? So this is the possible equipment. Now the thief here, he can't equip all the stuff the warrior can, right? So even though I have a hammer in my inventory, the warrior can equip it. The thief can't, right? But if I press R and X at the same time, look at what's happened. So what's happened is essentially this hammer is the possible equipment that the warrior had, but we're on the next character. So on the character adjacent to the warrior, but with the warrior's possible equip. So this allows us to equip items on the wrong characters. All that we need to do is have characters be adjacent to the character that can equip the item. So if we want to equip the hammer on the thief, we need to have someone who can equip the hammer next to him, and then switch and equip it at the same time, right? Like that. So this is possible equip. He can equip the hammer, but if we switch and equip, he can, right? Now, this works with armor too. Though he can equip the armor naturally. I don't think White Mage can't, so you can do it both directions. However, with this current setup, I can't equip the hammer of the Black Mage, because the warrior isn't adjacent to the Black Mage, so I can't, like, press R twice and equip it. No, that doesn't work. And so now another interesting quirk. This is why you need to have memory. You see, when I switch characters, the cursor stays in the same spot. If I had it on default, it wouldn't. It would always be on the top slot. And the reason we want the cursor to keep track of slots is this is a quirk of the equipment glitch. So basically, the way items are stored in inventory. So the hammer has an ID of 1. So the game looks at this and says, "Oh, this is 1." And then it looks at where it is, so it's a 1, item number 1, trying to be equipped in a weapon slot, so I need to display a hammer. That's what the game thinks. And so if I do the equipment glitch, which is, you know, pulling the inventory of this character, but having it on the next character, if I do that, but also switch slots, so I have item 1 in a weapon slot, becoming item 1 in an armory slot, what happens is, I get knight's armor, which is still item 1, so the game doesn't think anything's wrong, it just saying, oh, this is item 1, and it needs to be equipped in an armor slot. So shield, helmet, armor, and gloves, all of those are considered armor, and the weapon slot is the only slot that's considered a weapon. So you can basically convert the hammer into a knight's armor by changing slots. So I'm pulling the possible equipment from one, putting on the other guy whilst changing slots, so an armor becomes a weapon, or a weapon becomes an armor. So this hammer can become a knight's armor, which is a very good piece of equipment. And this leather armor can become I actually don't know what it becomes, but... Right. So the armor becomes a nunchuck. A nunchaku. Which I didn't have before, like... You can see I don't have a nunchaku anywhere, but I can use the leather armor to convert it. Because once again, I'm pulling this guy's equip on this guy by pressing, once again, R and X at the same time, or L and X2, that also works. like that. So the warriors equip on the next character. And if you change slots, you can also convert the type, the weapon into an armor and an armor into a weapon. And so, yeah, that's very useful. Allows you to get very, very overpowered weapons and very overpowered equipment. And so, here's a few quirks about how this works. So, I'm gonna get rid of that. So currently I don't have any Knight's Armors in my inventory, right? If I make one, you can also make it on any slot. You can make it on a shield slot, you can make it on a helmet slot. All of these 4 slots are armor, this slot is a weapon. So you can make it on any armor slot, but if I do it weapon to weapon, I get a weapon, obviously, because hammer is item 1, weapon slot becomes a weapon, armor slot, and the armor slot becomes a nice armor, right? So, the way this works is that since I have none in my inventory, the game's gonna pull one out of thin air. Alright, like that. So I still don't have any in my inventory, so let's say if I remove this knight's armor, I now have one in my inventory. But the game isn't going to generate a new one. If it sees one in my inventory, it's just going to use that one. So now the game just took the one that was in my inventory and equipped it. Which means that if you want to have more than one, you have to equip multiple at the same time. And then remove both of them. And now you have 2. But you can't... But now if I do this, I'll still have 2. Because I took one from my inventory, equipped it, and then removed it. That's essentially what's happening. So if you want to have duplicates, you have to make sure you have 0 in your inventory. So if I want to create 3, I need to first make 2. So now I have 0 in my inventory because I used the 2 that were already in there. And so when I try to make the third one, the game doesn't have any in my inventory, so it just creates one. Now if I remove all 3, I have 3 in my inventory. So that's about all that needs to be said. And so I'm just gonna go through the beginning menu once again. So this is the beginning setup. This is gonna be a full game tutorial starting in a bit. But yeah, to go through the first setup, just to show you like how it's supposed to look. So I'm gonna go slow. So first thing you do, right? Cursor to memory. That's very important because if you don't have cursor to memory, you can't convert because you can't have a weapon on the warrior and an armor on the adjacent character. So here, so it's basically fastest just to move the cursor to glove. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is that when you have something that's not a shield on the shield slot, which can happen, for example, if I equip a knight armor here, the game doesn't like that at all. When you block, it'll try to pull up the animation because each shield has their own animation when they block. So if you block with a certain shield, you have a certain animation. And when you have something that's not a shield, the game doesn't really know how to handle it, and it tends to crash with most items. So just try to avoid putting stuff in shield unless explicitly told that it's okay. So here we put 1 knight's armor on the thief, 1 on the white mage. So white mage can equip hammer too, so we can convert to an armor. And now here's the tricky part. So we do 1 on the black mage, like that. So LNX to... LNX, it's just basically just scroll button plus X, once again. And so here, we equip 2. So we still have 0 in my inventory. So we're gonna move 1 of these. Oops. Remove this one. So now we have 1 in our inventory that we sell. That's essentially the first menu. We'll go through it over again. So you convert, right? Aha! See, that's an example of something of it not working. If you don't change your cursor to memory, right, your cursor isn't going to be saved, so I can't convert into an armor. So cursor to memory, and now, so I need to get this weapon slot onto an armor slot. I take this guy's equipment, and I want on this guy, and in a different slot so that the weapons become armor. There we go, and that's armor. Do the same thing here. You can go left and right. Weapon to armor, same idea. Now this brings up the property of creating an item out of thin air if you don't have any in your inventory. I have 0 in my inventory. All the ones I have are equipped. So I pull one out of thin air, pull a second one out of thin air that I don't need, but if I remove it, and I have one in my inventory that I can sell. That's about it. It's maybe hard to understand at the beginning, but yeah, you get the hang of it pretty easy. It's basically just like R and X. Most of the time you don't even need to think about the conversions yourself. It's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. But